Hello? So, the quality improvement class for culture and world history. I think this is the first in the series of quality improvement classes, right? Was there any other quality improvement class before? Ethics was there. Okay. Ethics was done, and now we are moving to culture and world history. And when it comes to culture and world history, what I did is I wanted to ensure that you people will not have any deficit with respect to content in culture and world history. This was my primary aim. That's the reason why I have uploaded some 380-page document on the portal, okay, which contains the entire material for culture. Okay, will not be short of any information in culture. Then along with that, in world history also, some dimensions like colonization and decolonization, which is usually has become a very, very big challenge for the aspirants. I have given in tabular format most of the countries' decolonization, colonization experience along with unique examples for each colony. So there is a 380-page document. Okay, please go through it, and some sections of it might be relevant more to prelims, but cross it out and concentrate only on the sections which are important for mains. Okay, because I'll give a list of topics now today. Okay, see, and here the quality improvement class today, it focuses mainly on some themes. First and foremost, what we need to do is we need to analyze the previous year questions of mains. Along with the trend analysis, the next thing that we need to do is we need to develop some answer writing formats. Okay, what should be present in your answer? Okay, which is a non-negotiable thing for every answer. You see, let's suppose some question comes for which you have no information. There too, you can apply some of these techniques in order to write decent enough content, because some of the standard textbooks on culture also covers the information in a similar fashion. So this formatting, if you adopt in your answers, then it will automatically lead to more marks in your answer for your answer. Then after that, after answer formatting, I'll provide a list of topics for each theme. Okay, rather than reading textbooks from cover to cover. Okay, this is my standard opinion all the time. For mains, there is a need to reorient your preparation. Don't go for cover to cover reading of textbooks, particularly for history, because otherwise you will again start reading spectrum. Otherwise, you take up Nitin Singhania and you start reading again from cover to cover. But that is more relevant for prelims than mains. For mains, what you need to do is first you need to write down a list of topics, jot down a list of topics, and work on the list of topics and try to gather information from the books. Okay, rather than reading the book from cover to cover, what you need to do is you need to reverse the process. No, not that. I'm going to give some list of topics. Okay, not the index. Okay, if you read the index and then again read the textbook, it is more or less the same thing. What I'm trying to say is pick the themes which are more relevant for mains. So let's suppose there are folk traditions in Nitin Singhania. Most of them are not very relevant for mains. So you have to exclude that entire section from your preparation. Only some folk traditions, particularly with respect to Northeast, some prominent examples you need to remember, at least one folk tradition for state. So that way you need to be very, very choosy in your preparation, and you have to reorient your entire preparation according to the needs of mains examination rather than looking at prelims. You have to have more focus with respect to mains. And today's class is more or less these three themes we are going to cover. First and foremost, we are going to talk about the previous year trends, then formatting of the answer. Then the third one is themes that you have to study for the examination. Then along with these things, I will provide some diagrams also with respect to what kind of diagrams can be used, particularly in culture. Some of the questions which have been asked in the previous years, particularly the questions like stupa architectural format. Okay, for that question, a diagram is a must. Okay, in this fashion, there are some questions for which a diagram must be represented, must be used in the examination. Then along with that, after today's class, we are going to upload one more document on your portal or through your Telegram group we are going to share. Okay, one material that is based on diagrams. How to use numerous diagrams. There are many methods in order to present your answer. And one diagrams material will also be uploaded. Okay, today immediately after class you will get that material. Okay, so all of these things you need to do, because particularly in history, you should not focus much on history between prelims and mains. This is my honest opinion. Okay, don't spend too much time. By now you would be very, very comfortable because you have cleared prelims. You would be very comfortable in history. Even without reading much, you will be able to deliver in the examination. Okay, so don't focus much on history. Focus more on the other sections like society. Okay, where there are more dynamic questions. So, and whatever themes I give, okay, just read them once and revise them once before going to the examination. That's it, your preparation is done. Okay, don't read the textbooks again out of your own insecurity, thinking that I have to read history again. Okay, so don't do that. And most of the questions in history, particularly last year's paper, it is a real breakthrough. Okay, we have seen that all the questions are application oriented. There is not even a single question which is static completely. All questions are application oriented. So for application oriented questions, your content knowledge or your knowledge about the minutes of each particular topic is not very important. For application oriented questions, it is more or less with respect to your free thinking that is going to help you. So for that reason, I've made some slides. Okay, don't focus much on history. Being a history faculty, I'm telling the same thing. Okay, don't take me wrongly, but this is the fact. You focus on other areas. Okay, society is there, geography also, they are asking very application oriented questions. Here, themes, cover the themes, then close it. Okay, and one more thing that I wanted to tell before entering into this is that most of the questions which have been asked from 2013 to till date, they have been picked up from new NCERT textbooks. If possible, read or have an overview of the 3 themes textbooks. Okay, just overview. What are the prominent topics which are there? Okay, how can this be asked as a question? Rather than looking at the content as it is, you try to frame it into a question. Most of the questions are being picked up from the new NCERT textbooks. So we'll see. Okay, we'll see. First and foremost, okay, so we are going to talk about first the trends in UPSC, section specific formatting, and list of topics to focus upon. 3 areas we need to focus upon. So when it comes to the broader themes are architecture, painting, sculpture, dance, music, language and literature, religious themes, and meta narratives in history. Yes, I'll give. It's not a problem for me. Okay, so there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, a total of 7 topics which are given as the broader themes, which can be classified based on the previous year questions, and most of the questions they fit into one or the other of these things. Okay, either architecture, painting, sculpture, dance, language and literature, religious themes, or meta narratives in history. Only these themes are more prominent. Okay, only these 3 themes are more prominent. And when we go to the first section, okay, that is architecture, I want to just give you a brief overview on how the questions were being asked pre-2013 and post-2013. What were the kind of questions which are being asked in architecture? See, all these previous year questions, they are again important for your mains this year also. They are just reorienting the questions and making them more application oriented. Okay, the best example for this is there was multiple times Cholan architecture question was asked before 2013. Okay, but in 2013 they asked a question on Cholan architecture saying that Cholan architecture represents the highest watermark of Indian temple construction style. What did they do? They just shuffled the question. They just changed the question and they made it into a comparative question by saying that Cholan architecture is the highest watermark of the temple construction styles in India. So you have to write Cholan architecture in comparison to other temple architectural styles. So when it comes to these things, first and foremost, there were questions like new elements which were introduced by Islamic architecture in Indian architectural style. Okay, this was one previous year question. Usually people will think that Islamic architecture is not being asked as a question. They usually neglect it. But even this section has been picked by UPSC. Okay, then along with that, there were questions on rock cut temples, Nagara school and Dravida school, Chandela school of architecture. See, this is very, very important. Why? Because, see, they have even gone for sub-schools in the architectural styles. Usually, we tend to neglect these sub-schools. We broadly read just the Nagara style of architecture and we neglect the rest of the sections. But they have asked a question on Chandela school of architecture. Then, they have asked one question on town planning of IVC. Okay. And see, the same theme they have picked up again in 2014. In 2014, there was a question saying that town planning of IVC, okay, has its impact on modern day town planning in India. What they did, they picked the same old theme, okay, and they are asking you to compare it with the modern town planning techniques. Okay, so that is how they are doing. So every previous year question theme is very, very important. They'll just reorient the same thing and ask it as a question again. Okay, so in architecture, they have focused upon Islamic architecture, rock cut temples, Cholan architecture, town planning of IVC. They have asked a question on Chaitya also and Gopuram as a specific architectural feature, because earlier they had a flexibility of asking 5 markers and 2 marker questions. So what they used to do is they used to even pick very small themes and ask us questions. Now this is not going to happen. Then they have asked specific questions on one particular site, that is Brihadishwaralaya also. They have given it and asked you to explain the architectural format of Brihadishwaralaya just for 5 marks. Okay, then along with that, if you see, they also asked questions like Lowry Baker as conscience keeper of Indian architecture. Okay, this was a question which has been asked in 2012. And if you read your mains syllabus very thoroughly, they have given very clearly that even modern culture is also part of Indian cultural history. So modern culture, it is usually the most neglected section, and there is a possibility of good number of questions on modern architecture too. Why? Because wherever NCERTs point, there UPSC goes. If you see your new NCERT textbooks, these NCERT textbooks, they cover modern architecture very clearly, particularly Victorian Gothic architecture. Okay, then along with that, Indo-Saracenic architecture. This year, because of the reconstruction of Parliament building, they are planning to reconstruct and renovate the Parliament building. That question is quite possible. Okay, Delhi capital architecture of India, that question is quite possible. So you have to remember that definitely these kind of questions on modern architecture are also quite possible. In the material that I have given, okay, if you see the architecture, there is a material, sir, 380-page material I have uploaded on the portal. Okay, modern architecture, I have covered it very thoroughly. All the key points are present there. Okay, so you have to pick from them and you have to write the answers. Okay, it is more easier. It is more easier once you read it. See, here in these kind of questions only you can show your merit when compared to all other students. What usually everyone does, when it comes to culture, they prepare just the new NCERT. Okay, then along with that, they will read some elements of Nitin Singhania, and it does not have any clarity with respect to modern architecture. I have clearly segregated Gothic architecture, okay, classical Greek architecture. Then along with that, there is one more school called Palladian school, and last one is Indo-Saracenic. Indo-Saracenic is the most important one here. Indo-Saracenic this year, I am expecting a question from this section, because they can ask a question with respect to what in your new NCERT textbook itself, the second chapter, what it says is themes in world Indian history, part 3. It talks about the hegemonic meaning of British construction in India. It means that how they are trying to project their power with the help of their buildings. Okay, this is the essential theme, and this theme this year, it is quite possible. What are they trying to communicate through their buildings is very important. So these are some of the themes which have been asked before 2013. Okay, don't neglect the previous year mains questions. That too, mains questions which have come prior to 2013 too. Okay, so these are some of the questions, and from 2013 onwards, what they asked is these kind of questions. First, one question is Cholan architecture as high watermark of temple architecture in India. The second question is IVC to present day urbanization. What are the themes which have been picked? Then they asked one more question on early Buddhist stupa art depicting folk motifs. It expounds highest Buddhist ideals. It expounds highest Buddhist ideals. These are the 3 questions which have been asked. See, consider this question. Okay, it is not asking about stupa architecture. Okay, it is not just talking about stupa art. It is asking you to compare stupa art with folk motifs and how it is explaining Buddhist ideals. There are 3 sections to this question. You have to read it very thoroughly. It's not just about drawing a stupa and coming back. Okay, here this question is asking you one particular theme which has been covered very well in, if you look at the themes in Indian history part 1, this section has been covered very well. Okay, how Buddhist emblems, they adapted to some of the folk emblems which are present. Okay, and at the same time they were expounding some of the important ideals of Buddhism's philosophy. Okay, so there are 3 sections to this question. This is very important, and see, UPSC these days, it is resorting to repetition of the questions too, because sometimes when it is not getting satisfactory answer from any student, they are repeating the same question again. Okay, last year we have seen, yes or no, Buddhist art, earlier they said that there is Greek and Roman influence. But in fact, to say precisely, for Gandhara art, there was no Roman influence, sir. Okay, because Roman Empire, it was established post Gandhara school. Okay, that's why this year they changed the question. Central Asian and Bactrian elements in Buddhist architecture, Greco-Bactrian and Central Asian elements. Definitely Central Asian and Greco-Bactrian elements, they are present. So they resorted to repetition of questions, and this question, it is quite possible that they will ask again, because they might not have got satisfactory answer for this question. Okay, see, and this question particularly, okay, you need to see, I have given the information in the slides, okay, but at the same time just I want to explain it a little bit, because in these kind of questions usually what happens is students are short of points exactly to the center, to the core point of the question. You might have at best 3 points, okay, at best 3 points. More than that it is almost impossible. Whatever you read you will not find, okay. Otherwise you have to make your own archaeological study and then do it, write this answer. That's the reason why what I'm trying to suggest is, I'll suggest one format for this answer, okay. For every architectural question there is a possibility for a clear format. First and foremost what you need to do is, okay, these are some of the side headings which you have to show in your questions which have come on architecture. First and foremost you have to write the periodization of the said architectural style. Then you have to write about the geographical distribution of the said architectural style, okay. If you want you can use a map too in order to show where the sites are distributed, okay. For this majorly for painting traditions, okay, along with the painting traditions, for questions like the cave architecture you can use the map, okay, of the distribution of the said site. Then after that, who were the major patterns of this said art form, okay, this is one more side heading that you have to give. Then after that you have to write about the features, the specific features and ornamentation which is present for a architectural style, okay. Then after that you have to go to the unique demand of the question. Are you getting what I'm trying to say? This is going to be the standard format, because most of the textbooks on culture too, they follow the same pattern. First you have to contextualize the given cultural concept. Then after that you have to go to the unique demand of the question. This format you have to definitely follow for each and every answer on culture, okay. I have made some specific side headings for others also, but more or less it will be the same way. Who are the patterns, what is the period, what is the geographical distribution, what are the unique features of the said art form, okay, and what is the ornamentation along with the architecture, what is the ornamentation. Then you have to go to the unique demand of the question. So in fact some 30 to 40% of your answer will be covered here only if it is a 10-mark question, okay. And this is a non-negotiable must. Usually this section aspirants they forget to write completely in the examination. They'll directly jump to the crux of the question, but in crux of the question you will not have much of the points. Let me be very clear, because of the nature of culture questions you will not get a very exact answer. So for the given question, that is early stupa art in India, okay, the stupa architecture in India, it is predominantly present between, what is the time period, okay, 200 BC to somewhere around 550 AD. Most of the stupas in India, they have been built during this period, okay. Then yes, from Mauryan time to Guptan time, most of the stupas in India have been constructed. You can write that way also, okay. Then after that, if it comes to the geographical distribution of majority of these stupas, okay, you can draw a map and show the prominent stupas in India. Amaravati, okay. Then after that you have Mathura, okay. Nalanda is one more stupa, okay. Then so Sanchi is there. So, and in this format you can point it out on maps also, or otherwise it is, you can write it down too. It's not a problem, okay. Barauch is there, Sanchi is there, okay. So all of these things you can write it down, or you can draw a map and show them. Then when it comes to patronage, okay, you can write who patronized these art forms, this stupa construction mainly, okay. Their names also you can write, the empires or the emperor's name or the empire's name you can write. Then after that you need to move to the features. In features, the stupa architecture question, for that stupa architecture question you can draw a diagram saying that these are the prominent features of a stupa, okay. Then after that you go to the unique demand of the question, okay. In this section what you have to write, it is saying that folk emblems were used in order to represent the highest ideals of Buddhism. What were the folk emblems which were used? Particularly these folk emblems, they are represented in the relief, in the relief sculpture they are represented, okay. Most of these folk emblems. What are the folk emblems which have been used? Any idea? Okay, Majorly, first and foremost, they started using the images of Yaksha and Yakshini. Okay, and from these Yaksha and Yakshini, yes sir, Jataka Kathas. Okay, see, what they represented mainly is Jataka tales, Yaksha and Yakshinis, Nagas. Okay, then along with that, slowly they started moving towards Bodhisattvas. It is from this tradition of Yaksha and Yakshini itself, the tradition of Bodhisattvas and Taras has emerged. This is the first and primary link. So the Mahayana ideal of Bodhisattva, it has emerged from these goddesses like Yaksha and Yakshini, who are folk deities. Yes or no? See, particularly Indra. Indra can be compared with Vajrapani directly. Okay. So in this fashion, each folk god, he can be compared to one of the Buddhist gods. Okay, that is first and foremost. This is the thing. Then, along with that, second thing, Yaksha and Yakshinis we have talked about. Then, by representing the Bodhisattva or the Jataka tales, what did they do through Jataka tales? Jataka tales are folk tales, and these folk tales have been reoriented to represent Buddhist meaning. They have been reoriented to represent Buddhist meaning. Buddhist meaning. That is the second point. Then along with that, okay, if you want to write a little bit more critically, okay, some of the symbolisms or some of the folk symbols on the stupas, they were against the core principles of Buddhism. They were against the core principles of Buddhism too. Okay, can you give an example? Okay, Buddha was talking about renunciation. He was talking about what? The middle path. Okay, he wanted to take the path of sannyasi. But in some of these symbolisms and folk symbols which have been adopted, okay, there was representation for fertility is one. Okay, along with that, money matters also became very important for the people. Okay, particularly there was emblem of Gajalakshmi was there. Okay, then fertility cult is also represented on the stupas. All of these things are against the principles of Buddhism, but even they are represented. So in this fashion, you wrote some 3 to 4 points on the unique demand of the question. Okay, unique demand of the question you have to write. Then finally you have to write a conclusion. Write a conclusion. If you want to give an example of Jataka tales, you can write about how a untouchable became a Buddhist sannyasi. That was one of the Jataka tales. That is representing Buddhism is going beyond Varna order. So that way you can give an example if you want to. Okay. So they will definitely repeat this question. I am sensing that it is a high probable question. That's why I just discussed this question. For rest of the questions, the content is there. You have to just fit it into this model. Fit it into this model. Okay. When it comes to the important themes in architecture, okay, you have to focus upon. One is the question which has been already asked, the urban planning question. Okay, it can also be repeated. Okay, for that question you can draw a grid-like pattern also. This diagram you can give. Okay, or you can draw a diagram showing the division of the city into citadel and the lower town. It is having this block format. Okay, this way you can represent. Okay, so this rest of the things are same. Okay, periodization you have to write, patternage you have to write, geographical extent you have to write. Then you have to go to the demand of the question. Then when it comes to the cave architecture of India, for this question you have to draw the map. Western Ghats section you have to show more caves. Then Eastern Ghats section also have some caves. Cave architectural style. Okay, for this you can draw. There are many good diagrams in your NCERT also. You can pick from them. Okay, usually the caves have this kind of structure. Okay, usually the entrance is from here. This is one of the cave architectural style. Or you can draw one more style. Okay, there are n number of styles. Okay, this way. Or you have you can represent here. This here is stupa. This is vihara. This is chaitya. This is vihara. So in this format you can write. Okay, this format also is there. Caves, spherical plus two spherical plans. So you can draw use any of these diagrams. Okay, if you are good at drawing, you can even draw a facade also. Okay, how the opening entrance gateway will look like. Okay, this is the entrance facade. Okay, so this kind of diagrams you can use in your answer. Okay, definitely this cave architecture question is also quite possible, because rock cut cave architecture in India, it has evolved over a period of time. Okay, it's not confined to just one period. It has evolved over a period of time from the time of Ashoka Maurya to late Guptan period. The cave architecture has continuously evolved, and this evolution they can ask a question. This is very important theme. Okay, so you should focus. I have given very good features of cave architecture also in my slides. Okay, if you have your mobile phones, you can open. Okay, you can download the slides. Okay, there you can see for caves I have given very detailed information. You can use it. Then when it comes to stupa, this kind of application oriented question is quite possible. Okay, which is folk tradition comparison with the stupa. Ask this question. And in fact, for the folk traditions influence of stupa architecture, you can even write that, see, the stupa is essentially a representation of burial mound. Okay, which is actually a folk worship place. From this burial mound itself, the shape of stupa has come in. Okay, so that can be, you can even use that point too. So stupa architectural features in itself, it cannot be a question, okay, because it is too much mundane and traditional to ask. They can ask these kind of questions only. Okay, stupa representing folk traditions and stuff.
Can we compare stupa with menhir?
Yes, it is similar. Menhirs and this is burial mound. It is similar. Yes, the influence is from menhirs only. Okay. Yes, you can write. It is direct influence. Okay, and it is also sometimes said that the entire philosophy of Buddhism, it is represented in the format of this stupa architectural style. Okay, it is said that this stupa, it represents bubble. Okay, and this bubble is one of the three ratnas of Buddhism, that is transience. That life is transient, it is not permanent. It is one day there and the other day it can burst at any point of time. It means that change is the constant of life. That is one of the essential philosophy of Buddhism. Okay, stupa represents this bubble. But also you can write if you want to. Okay, so in this format, you can use multiple formats for this answer. And when it comes to the temple construction style, okay, you have to focus on some particular groups. Odishan style you have to focus, and Guptan age temple evolution is a very important question. It has been covered extensively in your introduction to Indian art. Okay, from introduction to Indian art, they have asked many questions. Guptan age temple architecture evolution they can ask as a question. For each stage you have to give examples properly. Okay, first flat roofed. From flat roof to slowly they evolved into, initially Nagara style they started. Okay, then full-fledged Panchayatana temples is the third stage. There are 3 stages in Guptan temple architecture evolution. This question is quite possible. With examples you have to write for each stage. Okay, with examples you have to write 3 diagrams you can draw. One flat roofed structure you can draw, then simple Nagara architecture, then Panchayatana style. 3 things. So password protected. How can it possibly be? Portal password is a password. Maybe, I don't know. You try it. Okay. Then when it comes to temple architectural style, They can ask a question on sub schools, Odisha style and Chandela group. Both of them are very important. 380 it was supposed to be. Maybe it got. Okay. Please check it. Okay, it's not a problem. Most of it is very simple. Okay, you will be able to easily cover it. Rather than focusing on any other material, you focus on this material. It is good. Okay, so when it comes to the Chandela group also, it can also be possibly a question. Okay, so Chandela group also you focus upon. It was a previous year question already. Then Pallavan architectural style, the formatory phase of Dravidian architecture, they can ask as a question. There also there is a proper evolution for temple architectural style. Okay, Pallavan, there are 3 stages. First is cave temple, that is Mandapa. Then the second stage is rock cut temples. Okay, the Panchapandava Rathas. And the third stage is proper Dravida architectural style. So the 3-stage evolution of Pallavan architectural style also they can ask as a question. You have to write with examples, sir, because these are predicted, very predictable questions. Then Cholan architectural style, okay, the classical Dravidian architectural style you have to write. Then this year, because of this UNESCO thing, okay, tangible cultural heritage sites, they are planning to include Belur and Halebid. Okay, so that's the reason why Belur, Halebid and Somnathpura, 3 sites are there. Okay, so in Vesara architectural style, Hoysala architectural style is very important this year. Okay, I have given a lot of content on Vesara architectural style, how it is unique and different from Dravidian and Nagara architectural style. This can be possibly a question. And last thing, Vijayanagara architecture, I have given a question and I have discussed in the test already, remember. Okay, for all these questions, the same answer format should be there. Periodization, patronage, geographical distribution, architectural features, okay, and ornamentation, and then go to the unique aspect of the given question. Okay, if you remember, I have given the question on Vijayanagara architecture as being a culmination of Cholan, Hoysala, okay, and I think Chalukyan style. 3 different styles, they commingled and they formed the Vijayanagara architectural, Islamic architectural style. Okay, nearly 4 different schools, they came together and they formed the Vijayanagara architectural style. All of these elements you have to write. Okay, this is a very important question. So Vijayanagara architectural style, it represents synthesis. It is also known as Provida style. Okay, don't get confused. Provida means Vijayanagara architectural style. And along with that, they can ask a question directly on comparison between Dravidian and Nagara features. Okay, Dravida and Nagara comparative question they can ask, which is very mundane. Okay, there also you need to draw diagrams. I have included some diagrams also there with respect to Nagara and Dravidian architectural style. Okay, and some of the key elements of Islamic architecture also, I have given some 7 unique themes, unique elements which were brought by Islamic invaders or the Turkish invaders into Indian architecture. I have given it. Okay, just see what are the unique elements. Here also you can draw a very good diagram of a domical structure, dome plus arch plus, okay, then minars, everything, all aspects you can draw a diagram. Okay, very simple diagram you can draw. Okay, this way. Sir, my suggestion is that you make your answer as much unique as possible. Only uniqueness will help you. Okay, so this way. As much as possible, try to be unique in your answers, and diagrams can bring in that uniqueness, particularly in architecture based questions. Then Indo-Saracenic and Victorian Gothic, both of them are there. Okay, you just need to see them. Here also you can draw diagrams. Okay, Indo-Saracenic architecture, definitely you should draw diagrams, because it is an integrative model. Okay, Indo-Saracenic, it is an integrative school. It contains elements of ancient Indian Buddhist architecture on one side. Some of the elements of temple decorativeness is also present as part of this architecture. Then stupa, temple, then Islamic architectural style, some elements have been taken up. Then along with that, some of the elements from Victorian Gothic architecture also have been taken up in this school. So definitely this this book, please have a look. A notebook, the material. Okay. See, have a list of topics the same way, okay, and then cover them. Don't read, do the reverse, okay. This way, your retention capability will also become better. You will read question and answer format. Okay, for the entire examination, you read just question and answer format. Don't read textbook based thing. Unnecessarily, it will waste a lot of time. Okay. Windows Arsenic Architecture, Delhi School of Architecture, it is very, very important question, sir, this year. Urban outlay of Delhi. Next aspect we are going to move to. So those are the themes that you need to cover. Okay, important topics for architecture are these. Okay, I'll share the slides too. Then when it comes to sculpture, in pre-2013 period, there were questions on Gandhara school, Sunga art, Mathura school, Sarnath pillar, there was one question. And this question is very, very interesting. They asked a question in 2011 on unglazed pottery making in India. What are the different kinds of pottery? It was asked as a 10-marker question in 2011. Okay, usually we tend to just concentrate upon some of the sculptural patterns, but we tend to neglect pottery. But pottery evolution has been asked as a question. Okay, this is very, very important. This is very, very important. So these kind of questions can possibly be asked. Just have a look at this material also. Just think, so what are the different kinds of pottery? Black and red ware is there. Okay, Indus Valley times glazed pottery is there. Okay, then after that, early Vedic period, black and red ware. Then after that, during later Vedic period and Mahajanapada period, you have northern black polished ware. Then after in BPW, you have during Sangam age, some pottery, unique pottery from Rome like Terra Siglata. Okay, all of these things you have to write based on timeline. Okay, timeline based evolution of pottery. This is very, very important. Okay, you'll be surprised by the kind of questions which have been asked. Okay, if you're surprised by the questions which have been asked, then you'll be surprised in the examination also, obviously. Okay, if you don't have a look at the previous year questions, same kind of questions, they will be repeated. Okay, now post 2013, okay, they asked question twice: Gandhara, Greek and Roman influence, Central Asian and Greco-Bactrian elements. All of these things have been covered very, very well. And Gupta numismatics, they asked a question: numismatic art, because this is considered to be relief sculpture in history usually. Okay, numismatic art is relief sculpture, so that's why I have included it in this thing. And you have to understand one more thing here. See, this Gupta numismatic art, they asked in comparison. Okay, they did not ask it in silo. Okay, or in uniqueness, it didn't ask. What did they do? They said that Gupta numismatic arts, okay, excellence cannot be seen in the later day. This was a question which has been asked, and asked you to enumerate the factors which are responsible for this. Even for this kind of questions also, you have to use the same standard format. Okay, what was the period of Guptas? Okay, then what are the material that they used for the coins? Okay, I'll give you the format for sculpture questions too. Sculpture questions too, I'll give you the format. And when it comes to the format here, okay, same thing. The period first you have to write, then the region where the particular sculptural form is found. Okay, then who patronized this particular art form? For Gandhara school, Gupta numismatics, I think it is very, very clear. Then you have to write about the features and technique of production too. Technique of production and features, both of them you have to write. In sculpture questions, definitely this is very, very important. Even in Gupta numismatic art, you have to write about, okay, two techniques of coin making. One is casting, okay, and the second one is, okay, die stuck coins. Two standard techniques were used during the Guptan period. Okay, die stuck and casting technique. Okay, on numismatics, there is a good possibility of a bigger question too. Okay, which one? Punchmark was the earliest, Mauryan, Mahajanapada period. Okay, then you find the punch marked coins. Here the technique is this. Okay, don't my entire point here is don't rush to the answer. Okay, first write about the cultural features first. Okay, then you go to the answer. Here you have to write the technique of making of coins, and the weight standard of the coin here is also very important. It is known as the dinara standard, which is based on Roman standard, which is known as dinara standard coinage. So those things you have to write first. Dinara standard. Then, okay, the specific study features. Specific study features means what are the characteristics of one particular, okay. For example, in the Guptan age coinage, what are the standard features? Okay, what is there in obverse? What is there on the reverse? What was the legend? Okay, so those kind of features you need to write. Even in Gandhara school, you have to do the same thing. Then you have to move to the question-based linkage or application part. Last section. In last section, you have to write about why Guptan numismatic art is not repeated later. First, you need to write what were the conditions during Guptan period. Okay, then later day, because of feudalism, all of these conditions are lost. So it is done. Are you getting my point? Okay. You have to use the same format: period, region, patronage, features and technique, specific study features, and finally the question-based linkages you have to go to. 30 to 40% of the answer should be the first section only, because this is the standard format, sir. Any culture textbook, standard textbook or international author book you take, first and foremost they'll write about these features, then they'll go to the discussion. Okay, so this way you need to write the answer. Prominent examples you'll be able to do. And in sculpture, some of the themes which can be asked as questions. Okay, some of the themes which can be picked up as questions. These are the topics that I'm giving. First and foremost, in IVC, they can ask a question on seals and ceilings and sculpture of IVC. There is a possibility of a question. Okay, then after that, they can ask a question on Ashokan court art. Ashokan court art, there is a definite possibility of a question, because our Sarnatha pillar itself is picked. Okay, the emblem of India is also picked from this. But here there is a good possibility for them to link it with the religious themes. Same like Buddhist stupa art representing Buddhist ideals, here also they can ask a linkage question. Or Ashokan pillars, they can link it with his Dhamma. Okay, so there is a good possibility of a question here, Ashokan court art pe, where they ask the link between Dhamma and his pillars. There is a good possibility of a question. Then on relief sculpture also they can ask a question. I have given it in the slides too. Relief sculpture, Bharot, Sanchi and Gaya. Bharot, Sanchi and Gaya. They can ask a question on the same thing too. Then you have 4 schools: Gandhara, Mathura, Amaravati and Sarnatha. And a question on Sarnatha is quite possible. Okay, very soon they can ask a question on Sarnatha school, because it is usually neglected in all standard textbooks. And this is the only indigenous school, proper complete indigenous school is only Sarnatha school. Rest of the schools have Western influence. Yes, Amaravati has many features of Gandhara architectural style, Gandhara sculptural style. Even Mathura has some of the elements which are taken up from the Western influence. Except for Sarnatha school is considered to be a completely indigenous school. Okay, so there is a good possibility. There is a lot of content on Sarnatha school in your slides. Then, so let's suppose if they ask a question on bronze sculpture of India, you should not confine yourself just to the Cholan bronze sculptures. You have to start from IVC period. Okay, from IVC period, then you have to go to the Cholan bronzes, then Pala, then finally you have to go to the Vijayanagara, and there is also bronze idols from Uttarakhand too, which are covered very well in your NCERT. So all these 4 things you have to write. All these 4 things you have to write. And okay, you can write Pala first. Okay, yes. Palas was earlier. You can write Pala first and then write Chola. Then you have to write about the techniques of Sirapedro and repose technique. All of them are covered there. Okay, the technique of making is also very important. Then they can ask a question on underlying meaning of Cholan bronzes. They already asked a question on the same thing, same subject matter. They have given a question in 2013 on Tandava dance format. And most of the Cholan bronzes, they are present in this Tandava dance format of Nataraja. What does it signify is more important. It has been covered very well in your NCERT also. Okay, what each element in the hand, leg, okay, where is he standing, what does his face look like, all of these things you have to write. See, in religious themes, there is a good possibility for them to go very depth. Okay, very depth. They have asked questions also earlier in a similar format. In fact, this Nataraja's Tandava dance, it represents the Hindu cosmic cycle. Okay, Hindu cosmic cycle with all its 5 elements, it is represented in this Tandava dance format. Okay, so all of these things they can ask, frame as questions. In your answers, you can include all this information. Okay, underlying meaning of Cholan bronzes also they can ask as a question. Next one, okay, is paintings. Next one is paintings. And when it comes to paintings, in pre-2013 period, okay, they have asked questions like comparison between Mughal painting and Rajasthani painting. See the kind of question that they asked. This question was asked in 1985. Okay, even now if this question is asked, most of the students will not be able to write this question's answers. Okay, they gave a they asked you to compare between Mughal paintings versus Rajasthani paintings. Okay, see this information I didn't include as part of your handout. Okay, the comparison, I have a clear-cut answer. I'll just post it for you. Okay, Rajasthani versus Mughal, same question can be asked again. There are some specific comparisons. I'll give this question's answer. Okay, just remind me if I forget. Okay, just directly give the answer. Then there was one more question once they asked comparison between Rajasthani versus Pahari. Very depth questions they asked. And earlier, because of the flexibility of 2 markers and 5 markers, they asked questions on all the sub-schools of Rajasthani school. Okay, they asked a specific question on Kishangarh school, okay, Bundi school. They asked all these questions, Kangra, Bundi, Kulu. Okay, I have included some information on each school also there, okay, in your slides. Okay, but what you need to do is you remember the Rajasthani paintings broad themes very clearly. Okay, more or less most of them are spiritual. They are inspired by the Bhakti movement. They follow the format of Ragamala painting. Okay, Ragamala painting is what they tried to convert the stories of Krishna and Radha into painting format. Okay, they chose the colors based on the Hindustani classical music too. That's the reason why Rajasthani Ragamala painting is a more prominent question. You understand the themes in Ragamala painting, you can use them across all schools. Okay, the Ragamala painting format, you remember. Okay, I'll send some information on Ragamala school too. I have included them anyhow in the slides, but more specific information I'll give. You remember just Ragamala and then some specific features of each school, you just add to them. Okay, Ragamala is quite possible, quite possible, because it is at the interface of music, painting, okay, and Bhakti movement. 3 themes are interfering, okay, in Ragamala painting tradition: painting, Bhakti, and Indian music tradition. So Ragamala is very important. Then some folk painting traditions also they asked once, but it is very long ago, Madhubani versus Manjusha. Okay, but not very important, sir. Now it is not possible. So neglect folk paintings. I don't expect a question from them. Okay, neglect this thing. Then they asked a question on neo art movement of Rabindranath Tagore too. Neo art movement of Rabindranath Tagore, they asked a question. See, they were asking questions on modern culture even before. Okay. Next, you see, post 2013 on painting, there was only one question, okay, which is Mesolithic art. Mesolithic art. So consider this question has been phrased very wrongly. Okay, go back home and read the question. What they did was they gave the question as Mesolithic rock cut architecture, okay, it reflects the cultural life of the times, and it also has an aesthetic sense comparable to modern times paintings. They asked this question. How can you compare with architecture with painting? Is there any architecture for that matter in Mesolithic period? They were living in natural caves, right? It was supposed to be Mesolithic rock paintings. UPSC has made a mistake here. Okay, they should have asked Mesolithic rock painting. See, the aspirants are sometimes more serious than UPSC itself. Okay, so it is very, very clear. The question is about Mesolithic rock paintings, and here also you have to do the same thing. Okay, when it comes to the answer formatting, same theme. Okay, first periodization you need to write, distribution you need to write, unique features you need to write. Then after that, in the final stage, you have to go to the reflection of cultural life and aesthetic sense of the modern paintings. Okay, I'll just show you the format for painting also. Similarly, periodization, region, distribution, patternage, technique which was used for painting is very important in most of the paintings, because in India, okay, earlier we have two major types of painting. One is fresco. Then after fresco, you have the painting called miniature painting style. Only two styles are there: miniature painting style and fresco. Okay. Then some prominent features you need to write and examples you need to write. Then after that, you need to go to the specific study which was given in the question. They're saying that Mesolithic art, it reflects the culture of the time. The culture of the time is what? The tribes, they were dependent on hunting and gathering. Both these activities are reflected in the paintings. They had a very thriving community life. That is also reflected. Their attire, dance forms, okay, and their belief system is also reflected in the paintings. This is how culture is reflected, right? Okay, so you need to have broader themes there. Broader themes, their belief system, economy, social organization, and division of labor, gender division of labor, everything is reflected. Their cultural life is reflected. Then the second part is more difficult. Okay, how do you compare it with modern paintings? Modern paintings, which modern paintings do you compare Mesolithic art with? Mazhabani. Okay. Any other? Worli is the best example, sir. Okay, if you see the paintings which are present in the park which is in front of us, okay, there also you have the Worli paintings. The same kind of Mesolithic stick-like features that are present even today. Worli paintings is one example. Then apart from that, some of the paintings, they are very, very complex. Okay, particularly there were complex paintings, okay, which can be compared with the modern cubist style too, where parts are, okay, different parts from different animals are taken and they have been combined in one format. Okay, cubist paintings of M.F. Hussain also, they reflect the same thing. Okay, they reflect the same thing and they try to this is one thing. Then these paintings, they are known for their remarkable realism. Realism is also a movement in modern painting. Okay, realism, cubist style, Worli folk paintings. In this format, you can write at best 3 points. Okay, so don't just jump to, in culture questions, don't jump to the crux of the question. Okay, complex animals, analysis, abstract format of painting is also there. Abstract format of painting. So in this format, you need to plan your answers. Then in painting, I've just selected some themes for you. Okay, these are the themes. They can ask a question specifically on Ajanta too. Only the information on Ajanta, it can form part of one question. Okay, what are the features of Ajanta painting? Because it is considered to be the classical style of Indian painting. There is good possibility of a question on Ajanta. Then Vijayanagara style of painting is also a good question. They can ask, because they have asked twice in prelims on Vijayanagara painting. So it is obviously a information of interest for UPSC. So they'll obviously jumble it to mains one day. Okay, ornamentation of Vijayanagara painting. Then Mughal painting, there is a good question. Rajasthani painting, comparison between these two things is a question. Then Ragamala painting is very, very important. Ragamala, sir, I'm expecting a question definitely on this because it represents the composite culture of India. Many good themes are there in Ragamala painting. There is a very, very solid question which is just waiting to be asked. Okay, Ragamala tradition. Then, in modern paintings, you need to study Bombay Progressive Group. Only one theme I'm asking you to read. Just read Bombay Progressive School. I've given information. Okay, M.F. Hussain, Sauja. Okay, others, what are they trying to represent? I have given information in the slides. Okay, what is a Cubist movement? Everything I have given. Just read them. Once you read them, you will have the information, necessary information to write an answer. Okay, Bombay Progressive Group. So these are the more important ones. Rest of the things, neglect them. Okay, Pallava, Chola painting, not required. They are more related to prelims. Only these themes are important. Ajanta, Vijayanagara, Mughal painting, Rajasthani, and Ragmala, and modern paintings mein British Progressive School, Bombay Progressive School is more important.
In India, true fresco are not.
Yes, no true fresco in India. Only all the frescoes in India are false frescoes only. True fresco is drawn on wet paint. Okay, it is not there in India. All are dry paint in India. Dry wall painting, sorry, not dry paint. Dry wall painting is false fresco. True fresco is called fresco buono. This is known as a false fresco is known as fresco secco. In India, all the frescoes are false frescoes. Okay. And when it comes to the formatting of the answer, if they ask any question on miniature painting, you can draw diagrams also on miniature painting. Okay, just I'm not asking you to reflect the painting. Okay, miniature painting you need not draw in the exam. What you need to do is at least, okay, this is a palm leaf, let's suppose. Okay, text here, painting here, then text, then painting. So in this format, it is there. Okay, this is the usual thing. See, there were many unique features of Ajanta painting. Okay, in art movement also, many features which have been lost post Ajanta school. Okay, they have been again brought into picture by the Britishers. Like some of the features, prominent features like, okay, what is it called? Illumination. Then after illumination, depth effect. All of these things they were present in Ajanta school. Okay, how 3D images are drawn. Okay, proportion with respect to images, all of these aspects. Okay, in most of your questions, if these questions have come, you talk about the Shadanga of painting. Okay, in introduction itself, say that all the 6 features, 6 standard features which are present in Indian paintings in introduction, you write proportion is there. Okay, then reflection. There are 6 features. It is present in your Nitin Singhania and the slides too. Okay, just have a look. All these 6 features are present in Indian painting school. Okay, you give with this introduction and then go to the answer. Okay, you use it as one standard introduction. So there are many things. Okay, some say that it is mentioned in Vishnu Purana. Okay, many books have mentioned the same Shadanga. Okay, then after this, you go to the dance or music. Usually this is the most neglected portion for mains, and here from here there is a good possibility of a questions too. Okay, then here also if you see pre-2013 they used to focus much on classical dances of India. They used to say that, okay, which are the dances which have been designated by Sahitya, which have been designated as classical dances by the Indian government. Okay, Sahitya Academy who designates. Okay, so these kind of questions they used to ask, and they used to ask that you have to write at least 2 or 3 features of classical dances of India, but these kind of questions are not possible now. Okay, don't concentrate upon these questions. Okay, then after that they used to ask question on folk dances and music personalities, which is very, very tough. Okay, if you look at some of these things now, okay, you'll not be able to answer these questions even now. Okay, with the content that you have right now also, it is not possible. Then they asked twice a question on Lalita Kala Academy. Suddenly this question can come again. Okay, so this organization, you need to make some notes on Lalita Kala Academy. What is its function? What are the awards which are given by Lalita Kala Academy? It has been asked twice. Okay, then they asked a question on the features of classical music. Hindustani they asked once, they asked Carnatic once more. Okay, Carnatic and Hindustani music. And they asked this question, similarities and differences of Hindustani and Carnatic music. Very tough question, sir. Very, very tough question. Just like Dravida Nagara comparison and comparison between Mughal and Rajasthan. Dravida Nagara, it is easier. Mughal and Rajasthani paintings, it is very tough. And here, similarly, Hindustani and Carnatic music comparison is also very, very tough question. Okay, it is a very tough question. For this question also, I'll give the information. Okay, I have a made answer. I'll say send it to you. Okay, I have made answer. I'll send it to you. They can ask this question. Okay, they asked this question in 2012, saying that the emblem of flute playing Krishna is reflected in Indian art multiple times. Okay, flute playing Krishna, you see the same person multiple number of times. You can make a very, very good answer across. Okay, sculpture, painting. Okay, painting, sculpture, and Indian Bhakti movement. Everywhere flute playing Krishna is a very important emblem. Okay, in Ragmala paintings also you find multiple number of times. Then in sculpture, the Cholan bronzes, it also reflects this flute playing Krishna emblem. Okay, this emblem they asked as a question. Then from 2013 to now, they asked only one question on this cultural theme, that is Tandava dance. They asked only one question, that is Tandava dance format. Okay, there you have to just write the symbolism of Tandava dance. Tandava dance ka symbolism likhna hai. And when it comes to the format, you need to write about first the development, distribution, patronage, inspiration. Okay, same thing. When it comes to dance and music, first and foremost, you have to start with Natya Shastra. Natya Shastra tradition you need to start with. Then distribution of a particular dance form or music, you have to write who patronized this art form. When it comes to the Hindustani music, particularly during Mughal India, it has emerged. Patronage is Mughals. When it comes to Carnatic music, who are the patrons, sir? Huh? Cholas. See, most of the Carnatic music, it has emerged from mutts, okay, and temples. There was no one ruling dynasty which has patronized Carnatic music in particular. Okay, but during Vijayanagara period, definitely there was patronage. But in the development stages, more or less, it is more associated with religious institutions than secular political institutions. Okay, then what was the inspiration? You remember I have discussed one question on Indian classical music. Yes or no? In my last test, I have given the philosophical aspect of Indian classical music. What does it intend to do? Okay, those features you need to write. And features and techniques you write the given linkage with the given question, and prominent personality associated with each music format you have to write about them too. So these are the things you need to focus upon. In your answer format. And themes that you need to concentrate upon is, one is Shankar Deva, very, very important. You need to focus upon him. Then philosophical aspect of Indian music, please refer to the synopsis which has been given in last test too. Then after that, you need to focus upon a few of the features of Northeast folk dances. For one state, you remember just one dance format. Okay, it can possibly be asked as a question. Each state, one dance format, plus Northeast map, you will get a very, very good answer for this question. Okay, so this is a little important. Then after this, in this dance music theme, one personality that you need to focus upon is Amir Khusro. Very good question is possible, sir. Amir Khusro, Hindustani classical music, literature. Okay, very important personality. I've given very good information on Amir Khusro. You focus upon Amir Khusro. If you read these themes, then your mains preparation is more or less done. Okay, more or less done. along with the previous year questions what have been asked. These three themes you focus upon. Then after this, the next theme that I'm going to talk about is the religious themes. Language and literature. Language and literature, they are asking questions only from 2013. Before there were no questions. And there were 3 questions in language and literature. First and foremost, they asked a question on Sangam literature and how it reflects the social and economic life of Sangam age. Then Arab and Chinese travelers, they asked a question. And the last question was Krishnadevaraya and his patronage of learning. They asked a question. See, this Krishnadevaraya question was a real bouncer for students, particularly from the northern belt. Okay, it was a very, very tough question. But cultural themes with respect to South India are more prominent in UPSC. Always, this has been a standard rule. Okay, comparable personality to KD or Krishnadevaraya in North India is Boja. Okay, but they never asked a question on Boja, either in prelims or mains. Okay, but they asked a question on Krishnadevaraya. But Krishnadevaraya, he took a title called Abhinav Boja, saying that he is the modern times Boja. He is comparing himself with King Boja, but King Boja question has not been asked, but Krishnadevaraya question has been asked. Okay, so very dicey, very, very dicey. But you prepare all these 3 questions again, good possibility of repetition. Then here also format is the same: period, patronage, language and purpose, prominent example, and how it has helped in understanding history. Same format: period, patronage, language and purpose, prominent examples in literature. Same format you follow. Okay, when it comes to these things, okay, some of the important themes which you have to focus upon is this one: Bhakti and Sufi's contribution to music, language and literature. This is a question which is waiting to be asked. Okay, very, very important question. Music, language and literature, 3 themes. Okay, what will you write? From where will you start with this question? Bhakti and Sufi influence on music, language and literature. From Alavas and Nayanars, okay, and their contribution to Tamil literature, first and foremost. Then after that, during their period, the classical music in India also started taking shape, okay, particularly in South India, Carnatic music's foundations. Okay, so for this question, you have to cut it down into 3 sections: music, language and literature. For music, you can start with Nayanars and Alavars. Okay, then you can write that definitely they formed the foundational basic for Indian classical music on one side. Then after that, what else? Bhakti and Sufi mein music ke liye Amir Khusro you can write. Okay, Hindustani classical music, definitely Amir Khusro you can write. Then Sufi Samas, yes or no? Their Indian classical music. Okay, Qawwali format you can write. Then most important example you are forgetting, Udupi. Okay, Udupi Matt, where Carnatic music has essentially emerged. The Dasa movement, okay, it is a Bhakti movement which has given its origin of Carnatic music is directly rooted to it or linked to it. So you have to definitely write that example. So music, you can write 3-4 examples. Then after that, when it comes to language, okay, what is its contribution to language? In the evolution of vernacular languages, Bhakti and Sufi movement, it played a very major role. Okay, but particularly Sufi movement, it contributed to the evolution of Urdu as a language. Then when it comes to language, when it comes to the languages, okay, Tamil, it has evolved, okay, and it has become a standard language during the Bhakti and Sufi movement's influence. Then Marathi, okay, then along with that, Sikhism, okay, through Sikhism, Punjabi as a language has emerged with Gurmukhi script. See, in these kind of questions, when they give you free hit, these questions are called free hit questions. Okay, you have to have broadest possible coverage. Don't confine yourself to just narrow examples. Just think broadly. Okay, then you will get the right mixture of points. Then literature. You can write multiple examples for literature, sir. Multiple examples. What examples will you write for literature? Jain literature for Kannada, is it linked to Bhakti and Sufi? Not exactly linked. So that's what. Tevaram you can write. Okay, Virashaivas Vachakas. Okay, Vachakas is a literature format which has emerged. Then along with that, if you see in literature, okay, what else can you see? Vachaka format. Bhajans and Kirtans also you can write. Okay, then you can write this Tulsidas. Tulsidas you want, right? Yes, you can write Ramcharitmanas. You can write. That is also a literature format. Which one? Kabir. Yes. Dohas. So many examples are there. Very, very simple question. Okay, but these kind of questions are quite possible, sir. Wherever there is an interface between 2 or 3 cultural themes, those themes are more important for us. Okay, then we can ask a question on Sanskrit literature of India too. Sanskrit literature, because there is a lot of debate on Sanskrit literature. So I'll send the answer for this question. Sanskrit literature of India also. Now till now I have talked about 4 questions which I will send the answers for. Sanskrit literature evolution I'll send because this is a very, very important theme. Okay, I'll send this answer also. Then see, just have a look at the Persian literature of India too. I have given it. Okay, Persian literature, just have a look. Not very, very important. This is very peripheral, least important. Okay, but Urdu language evolution, there is a possibility of a question. Urdu language evolution, there is a possibility of a question because there is a phase-wise evolution of Urdu language. It's not, it did not develop at one go. First, it evolved as a Kariboli, mixing Persian with Hindustani. Okay, in Delhi. Then after that, it had evolution in Deccan. Then after Deccan's phase, then again it went to Delhi. 3 phases are there. Okay, 3 phases are there. I'll send the answers, even for the Urdu literature. 5 themes. Okay, Urdu literature evolution. Don't search much. Don't waste your time. Okay, I have answers. I'll send. Okay, 5 themes I have told. I'll send it. Then there is a good possibility of a question on European travelers' accounts too. Now I've asked Arab and Chinese travelers' accounts in reconstruction of Indian history. Okay, in a similar fashion, European travelers, okay, analysis of Mughal court or Mughal India on one side, Barnier, because they have covered him extensively in your NCRT. Okay, Tavernier is there, Barnier is there. There are many others. Okay, but my estimation is that there is a good possibility for them to ask a question on European travelers' observations on Vijayanagara rather than on Mughal India. This is going to be a question. Okay, this is going to be a question. They can ask directly the European travelers' observations on Vijayanagara history or Vijayanagara Empire. Vijayanagara Empire, they can ask a question. Okay, this answer also I'll send. Okay, European travelers' observation, because it is a little difficult to find. Okay, you might find only Domingo Pais and Nunes. Okay, but there are many others. Marco Polo is there. Marco Polo, but he did not visit Vijayanagara. Visited which empire? Tell me. Don't write Marco Polo here. He came to India and he did not come. There is a lot of controversy with respect to whether Marco Polo exactly came to India or not. But if he had come during the period of Cholas. Okay, not here. 1200. Okay. Then, Itihasa Purana tradition, they can ask a question. It is covered there. Okay, in the religious themes. I've covered Itihasa Purana tradition very clearly. What are the themes of Itihasa Purana? Okay. You can ask a question. Then they can ask a question on Guptan literature period. Guptan literature as a classical literature of India, just like a KDR. Okay, KDR was very, very important, right? Krishnadevaraya's patronage to literature. In a similar fashion, with respect to North India, Guptan patronage towards literature is very, very significant. Okay, you have Kalidasa, Amarasimha. This year, see, they have asked in prelims as the following. Okay, all the prominent literary figures during Guptan age, they included in the maths the following. Okay, they can ask a similar question. Guptan age literature, it is very important. There are 7 to 8 different writers during this period. Okay, all of them, their works is very important. Okay, Guptan literature as classical literature. So they can ask a question similar to numismatic art here also. Okay, the excellence which has been seen during Guptan period with respect to literature, it has not been seen in the later times. Okay, classical means something which sets standards, okay, and which is an inspiration for all future literature. That is what classical means. Classical means it sets standards and it is an inspiration for future generations. So here, why Guptan literature is known as classical literature? This can be a possible question. If you want, I can send this also. I have the answer for this. Okay, I'll send this. Then, okay, scientific literature, it is peripheral, not very, very important. Okay, same as see, there is a good possibility of a question on science in ancient India. Okay, science in ancient India, they can ask a question saying that, okay, in ancient India, definitely there was a significant progress with respect to scientific temper and scientific developments. There were many observations which were made, and this scientific temper can be asked as a question on scientific literature too, but this is very remote. But a question on Indian science is quite possible. There you have to write about Aryabhatta, okay, then Brahmagupta, Varahamihra, 3 important personalities. Then after that you have to write about Indian medicinal systems too, Ayurveda, Charaka and Sushruta. 6 people, there are nearly 5 people you have to focus upon. Vagbhat also you need to, if you want, you can write. Okay, he is a veterinary doctor. Yes, Vagbhatta is a veterinary doctor. So you can write about Vagbhatta also. And then when it comes to mathematics also, you can write about the concept of zero. Okay, some important mathematical progress which has been done in ancient India also you can write about. Okay. Yes. No. Ashtadhyaya is written by Panini. Ashtanga Samagraha. Okay.
In which he combined all the 8
One second. One second. There were 2 people. I'm a little confused. Okay, I'll get back to you. Okay, Vagbhat. I remember him to be a veterinary doctor. There was one more person of a similar name. Okay, you can write. Okay, you can write. I don't exactly remember. It's been quite long. Okay, so these things. Then, similar fashion to Krishnadevaraya, Akbar's patronage to language and literature is also a very important question. They can ask this question too. Okay, because during this period there was a proliferation of literature in India. Okay, this is also a quite possible question. And in your NCERT themes part 2, language and literature during Mughal period is covered very well. Okay, particularly Abul Fazl's Akbarnama, they have given extensive information. Okay, not just Abul Fazl's Akbarnama, they have talked about the translations which were of Indian mythologies to Persian, which was done during Akbar. Translation was a separate department during his period. Okay, Rajmanama, Mahabharata's translation to Persian. So all of these things were done during Akbar's period. Okay, so this is a very, very important question. Then final one is the language groups of India. This can be asked as a question as an interface between society and history too. Okay, for this question there is a M11 article. Please do read it. Okay, language groups of India. I'll share the link also. What are the language groups which are present in India? How are they distributed? Because this language group distribution, sometimes it shows cultural affinity too. Okay, there are some broad-based themes here. Okay, themes here which are very, very important. Because some of the Dravidian group of languages they are present in northwest India. Okay, and Central Indian tribal groups, they have Austroasiatic group of languages they have. So this societal aspect to language linking, okay, this can be a question. This can be a question. I'll share the article, M11 article. It has extensive information on this. Okay, language groups of India. This is one more theme that is possible. Then when it comes to religious themes, they have asked 2 questions. Earlier there was no religious themes based question in mains. Okay, from 2013 on they asked 2 questions. One question is on Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Then the second question is on failings of Bhakti and Sufi saints. Failings of Bhakti and Sufi saints. They said that they were not able to do proper justice to their role. They were not able to break from the medieval ethos. This was the question. Shortcomings of Bhakti and Sufi saints. And they asked a 15 marker saying that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he brought a reorientation to the Bhakti movement in medieval times. 15 marker on Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was a real bouncer. Okay. No one knows exactly. Okay. That's the reason why here also you need to have this kind of techniques when you write the period, language, okay, who was the chief deity that they, or what purpose was there for this Bhakti movement activity, its social impact and the relevance to today's condition. In these kind of questions, if you write the relevance to today's condition, in conclusion, it will be very, very good. Okay, relevance to today's condition, particularly Bhakti and Sufi influence. Space world, intercommunal harmony, and these kind of things you can write. Social impact, activity, language and purpose, and period. Here in these religious themes, there are many good questions which are possible. Shankardeva, he is important there only. Already I have talked about Shankardeva's importance in dance and music. Kabir, there is a good possibility. Okay. Then Shankaracharya, I have given one handout on all these Bhakti and Sufi saints. The handout contains exhaustive information. You can directly pick the points from there and write an answer. Okay. Kabir, Shankaracharya, Ramanujacharya, Guru Nanak, Nayanars and Alvars, Upanishadic thought and its influence, Buddhism and Jainism and its social impact is very important. Then Puranic Hinduism, how it is different from the Vedic religion. That can also be a question. Then Tantricism can also be asked as a question. Ashoka's Dhamma's essence. Okay, there itself I talked about it. Then Akbar as a supra-religious sovereign. Okay, he went beyond all religions. How did this happen? Okay, what are the central themes of Akbar's religious belief? Okay, Sulhikul, Wadat-ul Zud. Then after that you have to write about Tawhid-i-Ilahi. Okay, 3 to 4 themes are there. This question is also possible. Then Veerashaivism as a social reform movement, it is very, very important because Veerashaivism, it represented the revolutionary potential of Bhakti movement. So there is a good possibility of a question on Veerashaivism. They can ask Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, why not Veerashaivism? Same thing. Okay, so they can ask. Veerashaivism is also very important. Its social reformatory potential is more prominent. Some of the central tenets of Sufism, but not very, very important. Okay, you just need to have a look at these things. But rest of the things are more important. Forget about the rest of the religious gurus, sir. Don't read each and every one. Okay. And here in these themes, women Bhakti saints can be asked as a question in itself. This is very important. Women Bhakti saints and their contribution. Very, very important theme. Okay. Handle, you can start. Okay, then where will you go? You'll come to Mirabai. Then Akka Mahadevi is there. Then Lal Ded is there. Yes. So in this format, you must know. Okay, but at the same time, okay, here the thing is the women in Bhakti movement, it did not represent a complete break from tradition. That kind of question is possible. Application oriented. Okay. It did not represent a proper break from culture or tradition. It in fact sometimes represented an extension of male patriarchy. Okay, that question is quite possible. So you might know examples, but here the application part is more important. The application part is more important. Because some of the women Bhakti saints, they were rejected by the society. Okay, among some of the Rajput classes even today, okay, Mirabai is an expunged, or is a figure who should not be venerated. Her songs are not even, they don't permit her songs to be played. Same, sir. Bhakti and Sufis shortfallings they can ask. Similarly, women Bhakti saints also they can ask the shortcomings. Okay, shortcomings or their limited impact they can ask as a question. Again, I'll send the answer for this question also. Women Bhakti series. Now, the last one is the meta-narratives in history, in culture theme. This is very important. They have asked questions on this meta-narratives too earlier. What are meta-narratives? They are broader themes in history which cut across time period. They can ask these kind of questions too. There was a question once, okay, in 2014 they asked this question, that Indian civilization has a uniqueness when compared to Egyptian and Mesopotamian civilization, that its traditions have continued without a break. This was the question which has been asked. One student last year, he came to me and asked, sir, should we write some elements with respect to Egyptian and Mesopotamian civilization too in this answer? Okay, see, but that was not necessary. You can at best write that definitely there was a break with respect to Egyptian civilization. Okay, today we don't have any people who venerate the pyramids. Yes or no? Okay, in a similar fashion, the Mesopotamian civilization is completely lost, and today it is completely Islamized. Okay, the entire region. Okay, the old gods, they are forgotten. The old culture, it is not followed. But when it comes to India, from Indus Valley civilization to today, there was a continuity without a break. There was a continuity without a break. And this question, okay, it is considered to be a meta-narrative, because what it is doing, it is looking at history from an outsider's perspective, from outside. Okay, all the themes you need to look, then you have to write about the continuity. Are you understanding what I'm trying to say? And in this question, usually what aspirants do a mistake of is, in these kind of questions, they just write about the IVC's similarities to modern times. Okay, but here, did this question, did it ask only the continuity between IVC and today's India? No, right? See, the history has continued without a break is the question. And for this question, in the answer, you need to write some elements of IVC which have continued till today. From Vedic age, there is continuity. From the time of, for that matter, from the time of Mauryans, there is continuity. Yes or no? Okay, from IVC period, we have the social customs which are continuing. Okay, particularly with respect to Tilak is there. Urban planning is a continuity. Then along with urban planning, the veneration of natural gods or nature's gods, mother goddess. Then along with that, the Pashupati. All of these aspects you can write as continuity from Indus Valley civilizations period to now. Then after this, when it comes to the Vedic period, from Vedic period to today, okay, the Vedic religion, it is surviving. The tradition of Vedic chanting, it is present even today. Okay, all of these aspects, and the social organization based on patriarchy is an emanation of Vedic period. Then the caste system in India. Okay, Varna is also a continuity. Yes or no? Okay, even though we are trying to break away from it, Varna is a continuity from Vedic period to today. Then from the Mauryan period, what did we take? We took the emblem of India from Mauryan period. Yes or no? That is also an element of continuity. The emblem of India today, it has been taken from the Mauryan period. Then along with that, later day also you can write some examples. Okay, let's see. Let's take from the Guptan period. What did we take from Guptan period? Anything? Nothing. Cultural continuity. Okay, some of the plays which have been written during Guptan period, they're still being played in Indian theatres. Okay, so classical format is expounded during Gupta period. So the dance forms, they are continuing from nearly 500 till today. Then, which one? Epics, yes, the Itihasa Purana tradition is also from this period, Mahabharata and Ramayana. So for these kind of questions, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to break the mold. Okay, usually these questions, free thinking is more required. Okay, then after that, you can even write continuity from Mughal period to today, particularly with respect to revenue administration is there. Okay, formation of districts, okay, administrative machinery and their naming is continuation from Mughal period to today. Okay, so in this format, you can write the answer. Okay, which shows that definitely India has a cultural continuity from periods past to today. There is no break in Indian tradition, but in all other civilizations there is break. So this shows that India is a living civilization. That is the essential theme here. Now, colonial phase, you have multiple number of things. The example, yes. Okay. So you have to write that Indian civilization is a living civilization, and Indian civilization has the unique capability of continuity with change. Okay, we are continuing adaptation and continuity with change. Okay, two perfectly opposite words you join together and make new meaning out of it. Okay, that is the model of Nehru. Okay, unity in diversity, continuity with change. Okay, how is it all possible? So India is okay an indefinable thing. Huh? Yes, you can write if you want to. If you write till medieval period, that itself is sufficient. Okay, if you want to extend the logic, it's fine. Okay, it's not a problem, not very much required. Okay, and you can say that Indian civilization is a civilization with continuity with change. Same question can be asked in many different formats. Continuity with change. Okay, living civilization, unity in diversity. All the things are essentially the same here. Okay. Even now, red sun on August 15th and January 26th every year, the flag is hoisted from Red Fort, which is from medieval period. It is also a cultural continuity. Okay, it represents Delhi represents the traditional capital of India. It's not about being modern. It's about the traditional capital of India. Then, the preservation of Indian heritage. They asked this question in 2018, suddenly out of nowhere. Okay, they asked this question saying that the preservation of Indian heritage is the need of the movement. Is the need of the movement. They asked this question out of the blue. Okay, for these kind of questions, in each meta narrative, the answer format it varies. Okay, we don't have a standard format just like the previous sections here. Okay, in this question you can start with this, quoting the fundamental duty, which says that Indians are duty bound to preserve their heritage. Okay, then after that you can move to the next part. What are the challenges for Indian heritage? Okay, what are the challenges? Okay, you can write then what are some of the cultural institutions which have been established in order to preserve Indian art heritage. You can write as the second section, and then conclude the answer. Very simple question. Okay, then they ask this question like Taxila University, which is very okay, peripheral, very peripheral. Okay, this is not mainstream question. They asked two questions of this format. One is Taxila University and Third Battle of Panipat. They did not repeat these kind of questions. 2014 was okay paper which is apart from all other later papers. Okay, both these questions they came in 2014 only. Okay, they asked this question on Taxila University not being a centralized university, and the Third Battle of Panipat. Why did so many empire shaking battles happen at Panipat? Were two questions which have been asked, but I don't expect these kind of questions to be repeated. Okay, but Taxila University, I think you know that it was a more or less, it is not a standard university with a standard curriculum. Okay, most of the institutes there were gurukuls. Okay, where teacher and student interaction is there, unlike Nalanda University, which is a standardized university with a particular syllabus. So Taxila University was different. Okay, but Battle of Panipat. Okay, if you want, I can send the answer for this question also. Okay, I'll send the answer. Battle of Panipat. Battle of Panipat, I'll send. Even Taxila University, if you want, I can send. Okay, but the main aim of this class is not content discussion. That's why I'm not going into the depth of this thing. Okay, I'll send all possible information. I hope that, why? Because I cannot waste your time by making you sit and teach everything again. Okay, I'll send the information. I'm just trying to show you how to look at the subject. Okay, then information I can provide a lot of information. I have all possible content. Okay, it depends on your own patience to read. Okay, but more important things will read, rest of the things will neglect. Next one, see, in meta narratives I can give some very good themes which can be asked as questions. Okay, which can be asked as questions, and apart from that, some discrete things also I'll have included here. One is cultural continuity, I have discussed already. Second is there is a good possibility for a question on composite culture of India. Composite culture of India, they can ask a question on this. And this composite culture, it is reflected across, okay, in architecture, literature, painting, okay, music. In all themes, it is reflected. Okay, I'll give the answer for this composite culture question also. Okay, I'll send the answer. See, just if someone is there, okay, just write whatever things I'm saying, okay, which are the answers that I'm going to send, I'll send them all. Nearly some 10, 11 topics I told, I think so. Okay, composite culture. Then there can be a good question on women's position in India. Women's position in India. How was women's position? Okay, they can ask this question. Women's position in India. Yes, you can start from IVC. There is clear evidence. IVC is a matrilineal and matrilocal society. Okay, IVC is a matrilineal and matrilocal society based on genetic studies today. Okay, it has been very clearly established that in IVC, okay, because most of the women genetically related women, they are buried at one place, which clearly shows that they were all cohabiting. It means that the women of one family, they are residing at one place. Are you understanding what I'm trying to say? Okay, now if you go to any village, locality we follow today, yes or no? There we clearly see that it is a matrilineal and matrilocal society. See, for this kind of questions, you can employ graphs also. That women's position in India, first during IVC period, it was here. Okay, then early Vedic and later Vedic period. Okay, also it has further diminished during medieval period, and social religious reform movements and women position is increasing today. Okay, this way you can draw. You can write here IVC, early Vedic period, then Guptan period, then feudal age, medieval period, then modern time, social religious reform. These kind of graphs you can employ. Okay. Then there is a possibility of question on Puranic Hinduism's influence on Indian culture. Puranic Hinduism influence on Indian culture means that essentially it is asking you the influence of Ramayana and Mahabharata on Indian culture with respect to temple, sculpture, painting, music. Okay, all themes included, you can write the answer. Okay, Puranic Hinduism's influence on Indian culture. Essentially, I am expecting that they can ask a question on Hampi city. Hampi city, they can ask a question. City layout. See, if you read the foreign travelers account on Hampi city and Hampi cities and Vijayanagara architecture, you can write this answer directly. Okay, foreign travelers description, there are two parts to this. Foreign traveler description plus architectural style of Hampi. Then there is a good question on irrigation technology of India. This is a very, very good question. The evolution of irrigation technology. I have an M11 article on this. I'll send it. Okay. How the irrigation techniques emerged over a period of time. Then numismatic art is also a question. Numismatic art is also a question. You can write the techniques there. Punch marked coin to die struck coin to casting of coins. Okay, three different techniques are there. And during ancient period, definitely obverse and reverse, religious themes, king in his various poses. But during medieval period, most of the coins were uniconic. All uniconic. There is no representation of any human figure on the coins during medieval period. Only Kalima is there. So numismatic art in ancient India, they can ask. Okay, what is the method of making coins? These things they can ask. And there is one more theme: spread of Buddhism outside India. Okay, suddenly if this kind of question appears, it will be difficult for you to handle. Southeast Asia, Sri Lanka, okay, Central Asia, then after that China, Japan, okay, all of these things. There is an M11 article on this too. Okay, I'll send it. Both irrigation technology of India and spread of Buddhism outside India. Then they can ask a question on democratic traditions of ancient India too. Democratic traditions of ancient India, but very remote possibility, not very important. Yes, you can follow. Definitely you can follow. Okay, period, patronage, okay, unique aspect and features, you can write it in. Yes, yes. In meta narratives, all the questions is based on examples, and your broadest coverage of examples you can write. Okay, in all meta narrative questions, it is the same thing. Then Amir Khusro, I have talked about him. Then there is a possibility of a question as temples as social, political, and economic institutions in ancient India. They are not just religious institutions. They are social, political, and economic institutions. I have answer for this. I can send. Made answer I have. Okay. This is very peripheral, not very important. Mughal city layout, not a question, sir. Forget about it. Okay, very remote possibility. Then Ellora, as a unique example of Indian rock cut temple architecture. Unique example. Okay. And Ajanta standalone, I talked about it. And some of the themes I have picked up just from your NCRTs. Okay, your NCRTs, that to Indian art, introduction to Indian art. This question, hill temples uniqueness. The hill temples of India and their uniqueness. They can ask this question, introduction to Indian art, it has been covered very well. Then they can ask a question on Assam and Bengal architecture, which is very, very distinct from mainstream Indian architecture. Okay, they can ask a question on this. Then, see, these kind of questions are also quite possible. Folk traditions are celebrations of life, community, nature's gift, and all-pervading animistic spirit. Critically examine. Okay, folk traditions, they are representation of celebration of life, community, and nature's gift, and all-pervading animistic spirit. This has been given as a statement in a standard textbook. I've just picked it up from here, from there. This can be given directly as a question. For each of these things, you have to write an example. Are you getting? It's not folk traditions means here you have to move across folk dances. Okay. Then folk music, folk theater is there, folk paintings are there. All of these things are represented through these things. Okay. Celebration of life, community, nature's gifts, and all-pervading animistic spirit. And regional styles of Islam, it's not possible, sir. Leave it. Regional styles, it's not possible. Leave it. Okay, just some half an hour more. I'll finish off world history too. Okay. See, in world history, as pointed out earlier, most of the questions are application-oriented questions. Most of the questions are application-oriented questions. There was no direct question at any point of time. There was linkages with Indian history too. Many of the questions they asked linked with Indian history too. Okay. See, I'll just give a brief of the questions which have been asked, okay, till date, in order to make you realize what kind of questions are being asked. First and foremost, they asked a question on industrial revolution of Japan and UK. Okay, latecomer industrial revolution in Japan, it had many unique features. They asked a question. Social impact of first industrial revolution and its comparison to Indian industrial development model, they asked a question. Okay, and when it comes to industrialization, there are only 3 more examples left out. One is Germany, USA, and Russia. Out of these 3, they can ask a question. Okay, out of these 3, they can ask a question. I have material for all these 3 things. I'll send. Okay, Germany, USA, and Russian industrialization. I'll send this material. An industrial revolution from 2013 to today, 2 questions, sir. Very big number. And they're concentrating more on economic themes. This also you have to remember, economic themes. Wherever economic aspects are involved, definitely they are asking questions. Then colonization and decolonization is one more important theme that they have picked up on. Okay, I can give the example of African colonization, how artificial boundaries were created. One question has been asked. West African decolonization, one more question. Malayan Peninsula decolonization, one more question. 3 questions have been asked. Okay, in a span of just 6-7 years, 3 questions have been asked, which are, see, African can be handled because old NCRT it covers it. But Malayan Peninsula and Western African decolonization, it was a very, very difficult question. And particularly, okay, identifying the countries of West Africa itself was a major challenge for students. Okay, forget about the independence movements. Okay, if asked very strictly Indian decolonization, whether middle classes played a role or not, okay, students will have a lot of confusion. They asked a question saying that in Western African decolonization, middle classes played a major role was the question exactly. So that's the reason why in the material that I have given you, in the initial first section itself, there is a big table chart. Okay, this chart, it has covered regions according to Western Africa, Southern Africa. Okay, it has properly covered in that fashion on one side, and the second side is all unique aspects of each country's decolonization I have given. So tomorrow they can ask about decolonization in Sri Lanka and the challenges which have been left behind for Sri Lanka. This can be a question. Definitely. Who is stopping them from asking? When they ask Malayan Peninsula, who is stopping them from asking this kind of question? They can ask a question on Indonesia. They can say tomorrow that in Central African countries, okay, the working classes played a major role. Okay, then they can ask a question saying that in Southern Africa, there was 2 stages of decolonization. What are the 2 stages of decolonization? First stage is decolonization from mother country. Second stage is the struggle between settlers and the locals. Okay, apartheid 2, the Rainbow Coalition, which was created by Nelson Mandela. Zimbabwe, Robert Mugabe, the conflict with the settler whites. Okay, Zambia also the same fashion. So in this fashion, they can ask a question on any subject matter for that matter. Okay, so for that, this chart which I have made, it is very, very relevant. All the unique aspects have been covered very clearly. Okay, so please go through that chart. Okay, then when it comes to one more question which has been asked is Germany's responsibility in World War I and World War II. Very pretty straightforward question. Okay, you have to write about German culpability and the culpability of other nations too. You should not just confine yourself saying that Germany is the sole power which is responsible for all the wars. It's not the case. Okay, then there was a question saying that new economic policy in Russia is comparable to post-independent Indian economy. This was the question which has been asked. Lenin's new economic policy, comparison with Indian economic model, same mixed economic model, some of the commonalities you have to write and differences also you need to write. Then they asked a question on major world events impact on Indian history. Major world events impact on post-independent, not post-independent, India's struggle for independence. During the British rule, okay, many major world events that they had their impact on India. Okay, you have to write about Russian Revolution, World War I, World War II, Great Economic Depression. Okay, then Japanese victory over Russia in 1905, Swadeshi movement directly led to. And if you see most of the events like non-cooperation movement, CDM, and Quit India movement, they are linked to World War I, Great Economic Depression, and World War II respectively. Yes or no? Direct link. Okay, direct link is there between all these 3 movements and major international events. Okay. Then Russian Revolution and socialism, its impact on India. All of these things you can write. Then they asked a question, only one question was asked, American Revolution as an economic revolt of American capitalism against British mercantilism was a question which has been asked. Then Great Economic Depression and its impact there was a question. Then last year's question was this, American Revolution and French Revolution and impact on modern political institutions. See this question. What they did not confine themselves to one chapter. They have crisscrossed between 2 chapters, American Revolution and French Revolution and modern political institutions. See, first and foremost, you have to identify modern political institutions like constitution-based democracies, then federalism, then the principles of liberty, equality, and fraternity. Okay, then apart from that, from American Revolution, we have picked up many ideas. Okay, with respect to separation of powers. Okay, all of these things you can write. Okay, in order to preserve liberty of the individual. Then from French Revolution, we have the division between left and right. This is also one more modern political concept, right? That has evolved from French Revolution. So in this fashion, you have to identify the modern political institutions and give a link to American and French Revolution. So that was a very, very good question. Similar questions will be asked. Then there was question on Africa chopped into artificial divisions, Malayan Peninsula decolonization, West African decolonization, and Suez Crisis is one important question which has been asked. Suez Crisis. So in this fashion, these are the questions which have been asked. And when it comes to answer formatting, okay, most of the times here in world history, I suggest you to just remember some of the tools for analysis. Okay, some of the tools for analysis you need to remember. Okay. First and foremost, in introductions for most of the world history questions, you can give a timeline based introduction. Okay, linking the given event to all other previous events and the events to come. Okay, timeline of events based introduction is very, very apt for this kind of questions. So if they give a question on new economic policy, you can draw a diagram saying that there is war communism first, then comes new economic policy, then Stalinist planning in Russia. Yes or no? Okay. So in this format, you need to contextualize every event in world history. Okay. So let's suppose there was a question on what else was the question on Suez crisis there? Yes or no? Suez crisis, you can write or put it in. There is first Arab-Israel conflict. Okay. Then there was Cold War, and then the Suez crisis is there. After Suez crisis, you have the Yom Kippur War and the 6-Day War. Yes or no? So in this format, you can contextualize Suez crisis. So every question for that matter, you have to contextualize by placing it in proper timeline of history. See, West African decolonization was the question, right? Okay. There also you can write that first thing is there is World War II, and post World War II, okay, there was a decolonization of West Africa. First and foremost, West Africa was the first section of Africa to get decolonized. Then after that, you have decolonization of the rest of the world, rest of Africa. In this format, you can contextualize the things. Many other questions, sir, similar fashion you can write. Then I'm just providing some ideas, okay, some dimensional analysis tools for world history. In whatever the questions are there, you remember just these things, okay, and try to apply with the help of these themes. Okay, first and foremost, what are the dimensional analysis tools? Okay, there are the issues of capitalism, socialism, Cold War. In most of the world history questions, you can use these kind of dimensional analysis tool. Okay, for any given question, it will fit into one or the other of these dimensions. You can use some of them for each question. See, let's suppose, take the case of decolonization. See, for decolonization, there are common factors across the world. Okay, there is the factor of nationalism. There is a factor of spread of socialism. Yes or no? There is a factor of Cold War. See, I'm telling you how you can possibly apply. Then after this, you have the influence of racism is one more factor. Yes or no? Then after that, nationalism I have included. Then there is the right-based movement after the formation of UN. That is also a contributory factor in the formation of in the decolonization. Then after that, you have third world solidarity. One country got decolonized, it started supporting the decolonization of other countries. Then after that, you have role of World War I, World War II, and Great Economic Depression in weakening the Western powers in decolonization. That is also applicable here. Then neo-colonialism of USA. It helped in decolonization, particularly in Latin American countries. Okay. Then after that, you have the support of international organizations. Support of international organizations is also very critical. So here of these things, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 themes are relevant for decolonization. In that format, for any other question for that matter, okay, one or the other of these themes is very important. Let's suppose take the case of American Revolution and French Revolution. From there, the ideas of socialism and capitalism, they became more prominent. Capitalism from the American Revolution and socialism from French Revolution's equality. Then again after that, you see one more thing is okay, nationalism is one more aspect, individual rights is one more aspect. Okay, then colonialism and imperialism is one more outcome of American and French Revolution. In this format, in these themes, you can use them for analyzing any major event in world history. Okay, so you have to use the same common themes for all your answers. So I'm just trying to give you the side headings. In colonization, okay, again if you see colonization, capitalism played a role. Okay, then religious influence played a role, geographical exploration, racism, economic themes में mercantilism and free trade thinking and financial capital. All of these are side headings. In colonization, these are the factors. Yes or no? Then aggressive nationalism. Then there were challenges in third world countries which the Western powers took advantage of. So in this fashion, you can pick up the themes. Okay. right? These tools are very important. These tools are important. So in this format, you have to format your answers. And some important themes that usually students miss out on is socialism and its various forms. Okay, it has been very clearly mentioned in your syllabus. Okay, so they can ask any question based on the comparison between Chinese and Russian socialism. Okay, I think I have asked this question, right? Socialist pattern of society. So those kind of questions are quite possible. See, I have asked a question saying that the socialist pattern of society in India, which India has adopted, is different from all Western models of socialism. Okay, what is socialist pattern of society? You have to first define, then go for comparison between Indian socialism with Western socialism. So these kind of questions are quite possible. Then there is a good possibility of a question on post-decolonization challenges too. Post-decolonization challenges. I'll send it, sir. I can send post-decolonization challenges. Then UN comparative question. UN's role in a post-Second World War world and its comparison with League of Nations, how it became a defunct institution. I've asked this question in last test. I have given the synopsis too. You can have a look. Then total war as a concept. Last class we discussed this. Then there is a good possibility of a question on a NAM. And whichever themes are covered very well in your NCERT textbooks like Vietnam War, it can be asked as a direct question. Vietnam War, it has been given as a separate chapter. Okay, the India and Contemporary World, theme 1 and theme 2, just have a look at. And then pick up some themes from that. Then this phase called New Imperialism is very important. Okay, see this African colonization experience, it occurred during this period of New Imperialism, which occurred between 1870 to 1914. Very, very important phase in history. They have asked one sub-theme of New Imperialism. Okay, they can ask the entire thing because it is a contributory factor in World War I. Okay, New Imperialism theme is very important. Then, if they want, they can ask a question on imperialism in China, same period, 1870 to 1914. Cutting of Chinese Milan, it is called. Okay, it can be asked as a question. Then, Arab nationalism and oil. Suez crisis, they have asked. So, Arab-Israel conflict and Arab nationalism, they can ask as a question. And last year, it was 50 years of Iranian revolution. Okay, 50 years of Iranian revolution. So, Iranian revolution, it can be possible question. Then a comparison between Russian planning and Indian planning. Arab-Israel conflict I talked about. Then the ideology of fascism is also very important. Usually you will not have crystal clear clarity about what fascism exactly is. It's a social, political and economic ideology. They can ask as a question. In Korean War and Cuban Missile Crisis, they can ask as questions. And I feel that handling world history questions is very easy. Okay, have the dimensional tools. Only colonization and decolonization questions were difficult. Please study my table. Okay, automatically you will be able to answer those questions. Okay. So in this format, write the answers. Do you have any doubts with respect to answering questions or themes or any material deficit you have? Okay, if you have, you can directly post. Okay, ask us the question and we can give you the answer. Okay, any tough question that you come across, sir, how to write this answer? I don't have enough content for this answer. Okay, you just send it to me. I'll make the answer and I'll send it to you. Okay, let it be more interactive rather than me working alone on in a monologue format. Okay, if you can come up with some questions, then I'll be able to help you out. Okay, and with your papers, please come to me. Okay, Anup, I think I have an appointment pending with you. Okay, we can meet and I'll be able to better judge you. Okay, and tell the areas of improvement for you. It's not just about history, even other papers also you can bring. Okay, and today I'll send in the evening the diagram material for you. Okay, along with that, some of the questions answers I'll start sending, and by in a 2 days or 3 days I'll finish off all the questions answers and I'll send it to you. Okay, anything else? See, have this kind of clarity for every subject. Okay, just start relooking the entire paper in a different dimension. Okay, last year with respect to governance also, there was such a diversity of questions which have been asked. Very, very tough. Okay, for that matter, they were very tough. We are making a material, it will come up very soon. Okay, the first part will be released in maybe 3 or 4 days. Okay, you can start reading the governance material. Then after that, there will be a quality improvement class also on the same. Okay, I'll meet you once more for Modern India quality improvement class. Okay, there also I'll give in a similar fashion the answer formats plus themes I'll discuss. Okay, and then I'll give you some topics to read. But save history for the last. Okay, don't give it first priority. Anyhow, you'll be able to write the answers. You can't make much of a difference just by reading once or twice in history. Okay, just have the broader outlook. Okay, I'll be able to write. If you are able to write based on your current information, okay, even if you read it twice or thrice, you'll be able to write only those answers. Some questions which come out of boundary, okay, you'll not be able to answer them even after reading 10 times spectrum, because the question is not from spectrum. So don't read spectrum. Okay, completely reject it. Okay, and even some of the themes which I have given, just read on themes based and finish off your preparation and close it. At best, give 2 or 3 days time to history, not more. Okay, me being history teacher, I am telling the same thing, because see how many questions are coming. Somewhere around 6 to 10 questions. Okay, not 10 questions, sir. 6 to 8 questions are coming. 6 to 8 questions are coming, and for 6 to 8 questions, the knowledge that you have, just to reorient it and write it. Okay, don't think too much about gaining of knowledge and information, not very significant. Okay, that's it. But don't forget these themes. All the themes, you make it into a list and start working. If you have content for it, you tick it mark. Okay, if you don't have content, start searching for it. Okay, if you don't find any content, then message me, I'll send the content. Okay, that way will work. That's it, sir. Okay, today's class is done. I think it has been done for 2 hours. If you have any doubts, you can ask me. Yes, I'll send this PPT. I'll send this PPT, and please, if someone has noted what are the themes that I have to give, please send it to me. Okay, I'll send them. That's it, sir. Thank you for your time. Okay. Anything else?